Welcome to Craving the Heat, where desire takes the lead and every story leaves you wanting more. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments and keep up with our latest naughty stories. Olivia had always believed in love. She'd grown up with fairy tales, believing that true love was something that could withstand anything. And yet, as the years went by, her love for Ethan, her husband, had started to fade. It wasn't a dramatic fall from grace. It had been slow, like the fading warmth of the sun as dusk approached. Their busy lives, their responsibilities, and the ever-present weight of work had chipped away at their connection, leaving a hollow version of the passionate bond they once had. Olivia, a successful event planner, was constantly on the go. Ethan, an ambitious architect, had his own dreams to chase. It was no one's fault, not really, but when their paths no longer seemed to cross, Olivia couldn't help but wonder, was this it? Were they simply coexisting rather than truly living? It wasn't until a business trip to Paris that everything began to shift. Olivia had been invited to a prestigious event in the heart of the city. It was a milestone for her career, one she'd been working toward for years. And although she was thrilled, she also felt a lingering sadness, the kind you get when you realize something important is missing from your life. The moment Olivia arrived at the luxurious hotel in Paris, she was greeted by Thomas, the event organizer. He was charming, easy to talk to, and exuded a warmth that instantly put her at ease. It was a professional meeting, of course, but there was something about him that made Olivia feel seen in a way she hadn't in a long time. The first conversation they shared was about the logistics of the event, but as the days went on, their conversations became deeper. Thomas had a way of listening that made Olivia feel important, as though her thoughts and ideas truly mattered. They spoke about everything: art, travel, the meaning of life, the little moments that define a relationship, and as their connection deepened, Olivia found herself drawn to him. It wasn't intentional, nor was she looking for anything more than a friendly connection. Yet there was a spark of powerful, undeniable chemistry that she couldn't ignore. Thomas had a quiet confidence that made her feel alive, reminding her of the woman she had once been. Full of curiosity and excitement. One evening, after a successful event, Olivia found herself sitting beside Thomas on the balcony of the hotel. The cool Parisian air brushed against her skin, and the city lights below twinkled like stars in the distance. "I never thought I'd be here," Olivia confessed, her voice quiet against the backdrop of the bustling city. "I've been so focused on everything else, my work, my responsibilities, that I forgot to live, to feel alive." Thomas turned to her, his eyes warm and understanding. "Sometimes we need someone to remind us of what's important, what makes us feel truly alive." Their eyes met, and for a moment, Olivia felt an intense pull, something raw, something real. She hadn't felt this way in years. It wasn't just attraction. It was a connection that stirred something deep inside her. Something that had been dormant, hidden beneath layers of routine and expectation. "I'm not sure what this is," Olivia whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Thomas smiled softly, his hand reaching out to gently take hers. "Sometimes it's not about knowing, it's about feeling. And right now, I can feel something between us." Before Olivia could say another word, Thomas leaned in, his lips brushing against hers in a kiss that was both tender and passionate. It was the kind of kiss that felt like coming home, like a spark reigniting a long-extinguished flame. For the first time in ages, Olivia felt wanted, cherished, and alive. They spent the rest of the evening together, walking through the streets of Paris, sharing stories and dreams. Their connection was undeniable, and as the night ended, Olivia couldn't shake the feelings that had awakened inside her. When she returned home to Ethan, she tried to bury the emotions she had experienced. She didn't want to hurt him, didn't want to disrupt the life they had built. But the truth was, she'd been reminded of what it felt like to truly live, to feel passion and desire in its purest form. Days turned into weeks, and while Olivia tried to return to her routine, she couldn't stop thinking about Thomas. The fire he had sparked in her hadn't gone out, And she realized with a heavy heart that her connection with Ethan was no longer what it used to be. They had grown distant, and she'd been too afraid to confront the truth. The truth that she had fallen out of love, or at least that the love they had shared was no longer enough. One evening, as Ethan returned from another long day at the office, Olivia finally confronted him. "Ethan," she began, her voice trembling, "I think we've lost something between us. I don't want to hurt you, but I can't keep pretending everything is fine. I need to feel alive again. I need to feel passionate, like I'm truly living." Ethan looked at her, his face a mix of surprise and hurt. "I had no idea," he said quietly. "I've been so caught up in work that I didn't notice we were drifting." The conversation was difficult, filled with tears and painful truths, but it was necessary. Olivia realized that while she loved Ethan, their relationship had changed, and it was time to face that reality. They both agreed to take some time apart to reassess their marriage and what they both needed from it as time passed. Olivia spent more time reflecting on what she wanted for her future. She didn't want to leave Ethan in a rush. She wanted to make sure she was making the right choice. She continued to see Thomas, who had been patient with her, understanding the emotional journey she was on. But their connection wasn't just physical, it was emotional, built on the kind of vulnerability and trust that Olivia had been missing. One afternoon, as Olivia sat in the park with Thomas, he took her hand in his and looked into her eyes. "I know this hasn't been easy for you," Thomas said softly. "But I want you to know I'm here for you no matter what. I don't want you to feel pressured. I just want you to be happy and to be with someone who truly sees you." Those words, those simple yet profound words, were all Olivia needed. She realized in that moment that the love she had been seeking was not just about passion. It was about finding someone who would truly understand her. Someone who would help her grow not just as a partner, but as an individual. After taking the time she needed, Olivia returned to Ethan to have another conversation. This time she felt different, stronger, more certain. She was ready to move forward, whether it was with him or with someone else. The path ahead was uncertain, but she knew one thing. She had to live authentically, to pursue love in a way that felt right for her. With a heavy heart, she told Ethan that she needed space to grow. They parted amicably, understanding that sometimes love takes different forms, and that was okay. In the end, Olivia realized that true passion wasn't about seeking an escape. It was about reconnecting with herself, with her desires, and with someone who could offer her a love that was fulfilling, honest, and real. As she and Thomas continued to explore their relationship, she knew that their connection was something unique, something worth cherishing. And so, Olivia's journey continued, filled with passion, self-discovery, and the knowledge that sometimes, to find true love, you have to be willing to take risks, be vulnerable, and open your heart to what life has to offer. As Olivia continued to spend time with Thomas, their relationship deepened. It was no longer just about the thrill of discovering someone new. It was about the safety and comfort they found in each other's presence. Their conversations became richer, exploring not only their dreams and ambitions, but also their deepest fears and vulnerabilities. They shared stories from their childhood, their past relationships, and their individual struggles, each word building a stronger foundation of trust. One evening, after a particularly challenging day at work, Olivia found herself at Thomas's apartment again. She had been struggling with the decision to move forward with him, still wrestling with the guilt of leaving Ethan behind. But Thomas was patient, always understanding her need for space and time. "Olivia," Thomas said softly, his voice steady and full of warmth, "you've been carrying so much on your shoulders, trying to make everyone happy, trying to fit into a mold that doesn't serve you anymore. You've got to realize you deserve love that's not just comfortable, but real. You deserve passion, and you deserve to feel truly seen." His words struck her deeply, and in that moment, Olivia realized just how much she had been holding back. It wasn't just the past that she had to let go of. It was the notion that she wasn't allowed to embrace the passion and love she longed for. Thomas reached out to touch her face gently, his thumb brushing against her cheek. Olivia looked up at him, her heart racing as their eyes locked. There was an undeniable chemistry between them, a magnetic pull that had only grown stronger with time. "I've been scared," Olivia whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "Scared of losing myself. Scared of making the wrong choice. But when I'm with you, it's the first time in a long while that I felt like I'm really living." Thomas's lips curved into a tender smile, and he leaned in closer, his breath mingling with hers. "I felt the same way," he said quietly. "With you, everything feels more vivid, more alive, but we'll take it slow, no rush. Only when you're ready." His words, full of respect and understanding, allowed Olivia to breathe easier. She was finally allowing herself to live authentically, to embrace the connection she felt with Thomas without guilt. As she leaned in to kiss him, the warmth of his lips against hers was a promise of a love that was real, passionate, and unconditional. The kiss deepened, slow and deliberate, as if they were savoring every moment. Olivia's hands roamed to Thomas's chest, feeling the warmth of his skin beneath his shirt. She could feel the heat between them building, but this time, it wasn't just about the rush of passion. It was about the rediscovery of what it felt like to truly desire someone, to allow herself to feel wanted and cherished. Thomas's hands were gentle yet insistent as they traced the curve of her back, pulling her closer. Every touch sent shivers of excitement through Olivia's body, but it was more than just physical. It was emotional. She'd been so afraid of losing herself in someone else, but with Thomas, she felt more like herself than ever before. They moved to the couch and their connection grew even deeper. The kiss became more urgent, but still tender as they both shed the layers of doubt and fear they had carried for so long. The vulnerability between them was palpable, and it made the experience all the more intimate. As they paused for a moment, their foreheads resting against each other, Thomas whispered, "You are everything I've been waiting for, Olivia. You make me feel like I can breathe again." Olivia's heart swelled with emotion. She hadn't realized how much she had needed this, the sense of being truly seen, truly desired, and truly loved. She had been lost in the roles of wife, career, woman, and friend, but now she was simply herself, in all her complexity, and it felt liberating. "I don't want to rush this," Olivia said, her voice steady. "But I feel like I've found something real here, something worth fighting for." Thomas's lips curled into a smile, and he kissed her again, this time with a deep, lingering intensity. "We'll take our time, Olivia. We're in this together." And in that moment, Olivia realized something profound. Love wasn't about rushing into something or looking for perfection. It was about embracing the raw, vulnerable moments, the quiet connection, and the trust that grows over time. It was about rediscovering herself in the arms of someone who saw her as she truly was. As the weeks went by, Olivia continued to grow more and more comfortable with the relationship she was building with Thomas. But there was still something weighing on her heart. Ethan. She knew she had to have another conversation with him, one that would bring clarity to both of their futures. She had waited for the right time, and one evening, she finally sat down with him. They had dinner together, in the quiet of their home, the same place where they'd once shared so many happy moments. It was bittersweet, but Olivia knew it was time to face the truth. "Ethan, I've been thinking a lot about us," she began, her voice soft but firm. "About everything we've been through, about what we've built together. But I've also realized that I can't keep ignoring the fact that we've changed. I've changed. And I think it's time we both move forward in different directions." Ethan looked at her, his expression unreadable, and for a moment, Olivia wasn't sure if she had made the right choice. But then he nodded, his voice quiet. "I felt it too, Olivia. I've been so focused on my own work that I didn't see how far we were drifting, but I want you to be happy. I always have." Her heart broke as she looked at him, but there was also a sense of relief. The conversation wasn't easy, but it was necessary. They both needed to let go and find what truly made them happy. In the days that followed, Olivia and Ethan worked through the transition amicably with mutual respect and understanding. Ethan gave her the space she needed, and she was grateful. For the closure they both received. With Thomas, the bond grew even deeper. They continued to explore their love, taking their time to build a relationship founded on trust, intimacy, and emotional connection. The passion they shared was undeniable, but it was the emotional depth that truly made their relationship flourish. They laughed, they talked, and they shared moments of quiet reflection that made Olivia feel more loved than she had ever been. As the months passed, Olivia knew that her journey had just begun. It wasn't about replacing Ethan. It was about discovering a love that was authentic, real, and passionate. With Thomas, she found a partner who respected her, who supported her, and who cherished her every step of the way. And so, their love story continued, one filled with passion, trust, and a commitment to always show up for each other, no matter what. Olivia had finally found the connection she had been searching for, the love that would allow her to grow into the person she was meant to be. Over the next few weeks, Clara and Ethan spent more time together, discovering new things about each other and deepening their connection. What started as a simple partnership built on mutual respect and understanding slowly grew into something more profound. Clara began to notice the subtle ways Ethan made her feel valued, his attentiveness, his quiet strength, and his ability to listen without judgment. It was refreshing, like a breath of fresh air, something she hadn't realized she'd been longing for. One evening, as they sat in the cozy corner of a local cafe, sipping coffee and talking about their dreams for the future, Clara felt her heart begin to race. There was a quiet intensity in the way Ethan looked at her, his eyes warm and full of emotion. His presence was magnetic, and she could feel a shift happening between them, something deeper than just friendship, something undeniable. "I never imagined this," Clara said, her voice soft. "How quickly everything can change when you're open to it." Ethan smiled, his fingers gently tracing the rim of his cup. "Life has a funny way of surprising us. Sometimes we just need to be open to what's right in front of us." Clara's breath caught in her throat, her pulse quickening, as she realized just how much her feelings for Ethan had grown. She had never felt so alive, so understood as she did in his company. Every touch, every glance felt charged with a new kind of energy. Without thinking, she leaned closer, her lips brushing against his in a slow, tentative kiss. It was gentle, at first testing the waters, but soon the intensity of their emotions took over. The kiss deepened, and Clara felt as though she were falling into him, into something new and exhilarating. Ethan's hands cupped her face, his touch tender and full of longing. Every part of her seemed to respond to him as if they were two pieces of a puzzle that had finally found their place. When they pulled away, both of them were breathless, their foreheads pressed together. Clara's heart pounded in her chest, and she knew that in that moment, nothing else mattered. "I don't know what this is yet," Ethan whispered, his voice low and steady, "but I want to see where it takes us." Clara nodded, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. "Me too. I think we're exactly where we're supposed to be." As the days passed, Clara and Ethan's connection only grew stronger. They spent hours talking, laughing, and exploring life together. Each moment they shared felt like a discovery of each other, of themselves, and of the kind of love that could be built on trust, respect, and vulnerability. One evening, as they stood on the balcony of Ethan's apartment, watching the city lights flicker in the distance, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of peace wash over her. It wasn't just the passion, the heat between them, it was something deeper. It was the realization that love wasn't just about the intensity of desire. It was about the moments of quiet understanding, the way they could share their hearts. Without fear, Ethan turned to her, his eyes filled with tenderness. "I've never felt like this before, Clara. It's like I've finally found someone who sees me for who I am." Clara's heart swelled with emotion as she took his hand, intertwining her fingers with his. "I feel the same way. I've been holding on to pieces of myself, and you've helped me put them back together." Their kiss that night was soft but full of promise. As they embraced, Clara knew that this wasn't just a fleeting connection, it was something real. Something worth fighting for. The next few months were filled with even more moments of discovery. Clara and Ethan learned to navigate the complexities of their individual lives while building something truly special together. Their love was no longer just a spark, it was a steady flame that illuminated the path ahead through the ups and downs. They remained committed to one another. They learned that passion wasn't just about physical chemistry. It was about emotional intimacy, about being vulnerable enough to share their deepest selves. Their bond was unshakable, and the love they shared was built on trust, patience, and a shared vision of the future. As the years went by, Clara and Ethan continued to grow. Together, their love evolving and deepening. They traveled, faced challenges, celebrated victories, and learned how to be there for each other in ways they never had before. And in the quiet moments, when they sat side by side, watching the sunset or sharing a cup of tea, Clara knew that she had found something extraordinary, a love that was rich, enduring, and real. They had built something beautiful, not just with passion, but with the understanding that love was about more than just desire. It was about the deep connection they had created, the way they made each other feel safe, valued, and cherished. And as they looked toward the future, they both knew that they would continue to choose each other every day because love wasn't just a feeling. It was a choice, and one that they were both willing to make over and over again. As the months rolled on, Clara and Ethan's relationship continued to flourish. It wasn't always perfect. Life had its challenges, and both of them still had their individual paths to navigate. But the foundation they had built was strong. They had found a rhythm, a way of being together that allowed them to grow both as individuals and as partners. Ethan's work as a freelance photographer took him on frequent trips, capturing everything from breathtaking landscapes to intimate portraits. Clara, too, had her career to focus on, and while her marketing firm was thriving, she found herself with more responsibility than ever. But despite their busy schedules, they always made time for each other. They prioritized their connection, whether it was a quiet dinner at home or a spontaneous weekend getaway. One evening, as the winter chills settled over the city, Ethan invited Clara to a rooftop dinner. The view was stunning, with the city lights twinkling in the distance like a sea of stars. A gentle snow began to fall, dusting the world in white, and the air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine from nearby trees. Clara looked at Ethan across the table, feeling the warmth of the candlelight on her skin. "I can't believe how far we've come," she said, her voice soft, almost wistful. "From where we started, I never imagined we'd be here, this happy, this connected." Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "I think we're just getting started. There is so much more to explore, so much more of each other to learn." Clara smiled, feeling the depth of his words. She had never felt so understood, so seen. Ethan had a way of making her feel like she was exactly where she needed to be, whole, complete, and loved. And in return, she had shown him parts of himself he hadn't even realized were missing. Their connection was undeniable. It wasn't just passion anymore, it was love in its purest form. The physical moments were still as intense as ever, but now they were complemented by a deeper emotional intimacy. They communicated openly about their fears, their dreams, and their vulnerabilities, always supporting each other in ways that made both of them better individuals. Later that evening, after a quiet walk through the snow-covered streets, found themselves back at Ethan's apartment. They stood by the window, gazing out at the city below. The lights of the skyline seemed to stretch forever, a vast and endless sea of possibilities. Ethan turned to Clara, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. You're the person I want to spend the rest of my days with." Clara felt her heart swell with emotion as she looked up at him. "I feel the same way. You've given me something I didn't even know I needed, a love that is real, unconditional. I can't imagine my life without you in it." Ethan smiled, a quiet joy in his eyes. "Then let's make sure we don't have to." In that moment, Clara knew without a doubt that she had found her person. She had found love in a way that was both passionate and grounded, a love that was built on mutual respect, trust, and the understanding that they were in this together, no matter what life threw their way. The following months were filled with the promise of a shared future. Ethan and Clara started to make plans together about their careers, their dreams, and their hopes for the life they wanted to build. They talked about traveling the world, starting a family, and creating a home, filled with laughter and love. And then one evening, after a weekend away at a cozy cabin by the lake, Ethan took Clara by surprise. As they sat by the fire, wrapped in blankets, he turned to her with a smile that lit up his face. "Clara, there's something I've been meaning to ask you." Clara looked at him, curiosity in her eyes. "What is it?" Ethan reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box. Her heart skipped a beat as he opened it to reveal a simple yet beautiful ring. "Will you marry me?" Tears filled Clara's eyes as she looked at him, overcome with emotion. "Yes," she whispered, her voice thick with love. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, and in that moment, everything felt right. They were no longer just two people in love, they were partners, ready to take on the world together. Their engagement marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. They continued to support each other, nurturing their love, passion, and dreams. They learned to find joy in the little moments, to always choose each other, and to never take their love for granted. Years later, as they stood together at the altar, surrounded by their closest friends and family, Clara knew that their journey had been one of growth, discovery, and the kind of love that only comes when two people are fully open to each other, heart, mind, and soul. Their love wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was passionate, raw, and beautiful in its imperfection. And as they exchanged vows, promising to love and cherish each other for the rest of their lives, Clara felt a deep sense of gratitude for the love they had created, a love that had brought them to this moment and would continue to guide them in the years to come. The journey wasn't always easy, but it was theirs. And in the end, that was all that mattered.